Hello YouTube, my name's Nero, and today we have some Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, another episode of Dear Nero, which is the weekly series here on my channel where subscribers send me in fan mail and or fan questions. And I do best to go ahead and answer them. The gameplay you guys are watching right now is actually using the IMR. Now this gun's awesome. I've been talking about in the past couple of videos how the burst rifles in this game are really cool, and this was one of the first games of this prestige I've been using the IMR, so I have no attachments really for it. I do have like a buttload of perks, but I have really no attachments for it or anything like that. But I still get a pretty good game, but not like a super exceptional game or anything like that. But then again, it's Dear Nero. Dear Nero is never really about showing off like exceptional gameplay or anything like that. It's about showing decent stuff, decent gameplay. They're usually very, very long videos that require like 2 to 3, sometimes 4 different gameplays all in one video. So you guys know how Dear Nero works. This week's questions are pretty good. Now, usually Dear Nero, a lot of them are short kind of questions, right? The questions are like, what is your favorite color? And I'll answer like my favorite color, and that's how it usually kind of goes down. And usually the questions are kind of short, but these questions, a lot of them that were sent in this week, are all pretty long. They're all maybe like a paragraph long or so. Some of them longer than others. And so I think the key to making this a good episode of Dear Nero is for me not to go on way too long with the answers, because the questions themselves are already kind of long. So let's hop into the first one here, which isn't too long, but it's a good one. It's one that I really had to rack my brain about. He's going to write, Dear Nero, I know that you've made many videos on this, but I still have one unanswered question on the topic. Why do you think skill-based matchmaking is in Advanced Warfare when there is a ranked playlist? Michael from Australia. Michael, I cannot tell you how long I racked my brain thinking about an answer to this question. Even when I decided to use this question, I'm scrolling through and reading through the other questions, this question was in the back of my mind the entire time. And I honestly cannot come up with a good answer for that. Besides, skill-based matchmaking has been in just about every Call of Duty in one way or another. I can remember all the way back in 2007, we would have people who were like a non-prestige, right? Like you have like a non-prestige basically host your party. If you have a friend that's on a brand new account or something like that, which was kind of popular back in the day, I suppose, because people didn't have their accounts for very, very long, so they would just, instead of paying money to change their name, they would just start a whole new account because they didn't have a whole lot of gamer score or anything like that to really lose by changing accounts or anything. So people would hop accounts quite a bit way back in the day, and we would notice that if you had a non-prestige or somebody that was kind of like a lower level host the game and then search you for a match, then you would usually get matched up against people that were also like non-prestiges, very low levels like that person. I can remember that all the way back in 2007. I feel as though skill-based matchmaking in one way or another has always been part of Call of Duty to a greater or lesser extent. Now, it does feel like Advanced Warfare has kind of a higher skill-based matchmaking threshold than the rest of them. It really does feel like you have a lot more competitive games, but I also wonder, is it possible that the reason we're feeling this is because Advanced Warfare with the new movement system and the way the spawn system is set up and how everybody basically does about the same, how over the years with Call of Duty everybody really starts to feel like they're drifting closer to that 1 KD. I wonder if it's just the very nature of the game that players don't do exceptionally well as often as they may remember from games like Call of Duty Ghost or perhaps Black Ops 2. Is that possibly a solution? Is that possibly an answer to some of the questions out there? Is it possible that just the way that, by the very nature of Advanced Warfare's design, where everyone's going to do even close, it's more random, there's more people going around, there's really no flow. You think of older Call of Duty game stuff, you think of the flow that the maps had, and you could really kind of predict where people are going to be from. You can do that a bit in Advanced Warfare, but it's really kind of hard because people can move so ridiculously quickly. We look at the exo ability overclock, you look at the fact that there's double jumps and dashes. You see a lot of my gameplay, I dash around all the time. The fact that people can move around so much, and the fact that they actually have a perk called low profile, which makes it so they can be hid from all kinds of UAV and whatnot, and the fact that they can just move around, I think that might be part of it. While I do think skill-based matchmaking is a big deal in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, I also think the very nature of the design of the game is a big reason why a lot of people feel as though skill-based matchmaking may or may not actually be bigger than what it really is, just because it's a lot harder to do well in this game as compared to prior games. If you look at the gameplays I post here on my channel, I remember back during the original Black Ops, it was not uncommon for most of my gameplays to be like 70 kill domination matches and things like that, But then you look here, like, you're lucky if you see 40 plus kills from me in domination match in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, because one, skill-based matchmaking competition is a lot more stiff, a lot more of the time, as well as the game itself is a bit more random. But to answer your question, I can't offer anything. I can't say why there would be skill-based matchmaking in Advanced Warfare when there is a ranked playlist. One would assume if you want to be really tested and have a really close match and stuff like that, you go play the ranked playlist where they have an entire system where they rank you up in the divisions and stuff. I assume it's similar to League play. I'm not really into competitive Call of Duty, so I haven't played this ranked playlist yet. But I did play a bit of League play. I assume it's kind of similar to that. So you would think people would just go there if they want their fix. I really don't see a big need for like a heavy skill-based matchmaking. Of course, you want some kind of skill-based matchmaking, right? If you're upper max rank in the game, you shouldn't be going up against a lobby of non-prestigious or anything like that. That's just unfair to the person that hasn't played the game yet. That's completely unfair, but I don't know. I really can't answer that question. That's one I had to think long and hard on. It was actually a pretty tough question to answer. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I've been a fan for a long time, and I've learned from episodes of Dear Nero that you don't use gaming accessories such as scuff controllers or control freaks, but you do use Gamma's G Fuel. I was wondering, what is your favorite flavor of G Fuel, PS minus peach mango or lemon lime? Sincerely, Johnny from California. So Johnny's right. I actually had a bit of a sponsorship with Gamma for a little bit during the Black Ops 2, back during Black Ops 2. Now, if you guys don't know what G Fuel is, you can type in Gamma Labs G Fuel, now for you about basically link you right to it. It essentially is pictured almost like Kool-Aid, but like an energy version of Kool-Aid, but there's a bunch of caffeine in there, and there's also a bunch of different vitamins and stuff like that in there. I used to compare it to coffee for people that don't like coffee, because basically you can drink it in the morning, you can drink it after working out, you can drink it really whenever, and it's got a lot of caffeine in there, and it's got a lot of vitamins and stuff, and it really just gets you really energized, like super duper energized. I used to actually drink it a lot, and actually kind of stopped talking to Gamma. It's not because they made a bad product, it's not because they did me wrong somehow or anything like that. It just, I kind of stopped using their product because I went on kind of a kick where I just didn't have any caffeine. I just didn't drink it. I didn't drink pop, I didn't drink Gamma, I just didn't really drink anything and have any kind of caffeine. Lately I started getting a bit back into caffeine. I started actually drinking Mountain Dew Game Fuel again because it's so freaking delicious, but I'm at the point where I can drink like 1 or 2 a day, and if I drink more than that, I really have trouble sleeping at night, so my body's not really used to caffeine yet, so because of that, I haven't used Gamma stuff, but I can say, like I said, it's basically coffee for people that don't like coffee. It's actually great. It tastes like Kool-Aid. There's a bunch of different great flavors. My personal favorite flavors, to answer your question, was Fruit Punch and Blue Ice. I love those, and actually, here's a pro tip. If you mix a little bit of Fruit Punch with a little bit of Blue Ice, that's a very freaking good flavor you got there. Lemon Lime was okay. It wasn't my favorite, though. Definitely was not my favorite. And Peach Mango, I hate peaches. Hate peaches. Yeah, nasty. I never even tried it, but I don't want to because I hate peaches. But yeah, Fruit Punch and Blue Ice are both delicious. And yeah, if you guys are looking for like an alternative to coffee or something, you want something to kind of get you going in the morning or something like that, Gamma Labs G Fuel, very, very good stuff. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I've always been an Xbox player ever since I got into video games a few years ago. My intentions were to buy an Xbox One when I had the money, and I never even considered PlayStation, but the problem is literally all of my friends except for one play on PlayStation now. I really want to be able to play with my friends, but at the same time I want an Xbox One because I care about my profile, my gamer score, and being able to keep track of everything I've done over the years. So my question is, what would you do in my situation? Thanks, Zach from North Carolina. So Mr. Zach from North Carolina, there's one key thing about your question I really wanted to know is what kind of friends are these? Are these online friends or are these friends in real life? Either way, I think the answer is still the same. I feel as though you should probably go with the Xbox. If you've always wanted your Xbox, you've always played on Xbox and you want to get the Xbox One, but the only reason you want a PlayStation is because other people that you know are playing on it, be it online friends or real life friends, I don't think that's really that great of a reason to go to that personally. I feel as though if you already have the one friend that has the Xbox One, if you were to get an Xbox One, you could play with that one friend and make new friends, especially if all these other people that you're trying to play with are online friends, right? If the rest of these people are online friends, you can make new online friends. That's not really a hard thing. That's the beauty of being online, right? And if they're all your real life friends and they all play on PlayStation, well, they're still your real life friends, and you can still do stuff with them outside of gaming and stuff like that. So I guess the best solution for me, what I would personally go with, is the Xbox One, just because I'm in the same boat as you. I'm definitely in the same boat as you. A couple of my friends got the PlayStation 4, and they don't really play it on a whole lot, but I do have two friends, Buell and Grizzly, that both end up going all over to the PlayStation 4. And while I haven't talked to those guys in a while, it's definitely okay, because I'm not going to buy a PlayStation 4. I have no interest in buying one because I like my Xbox. I love my profile. I'm in the same boat as you. I've had my profile for 6 years now. I have all my gamer score. I can hop on Call of Duty 4, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, and all these older games I played, and I have these save states on these games where I go back there and I have all my stuff unlocked, all the memories on this account. I like that system, and I don't want to change platforms. I still want to change platforms because I've invested too much time into the Xbox, and so if you're in the same boat, I would say go with the Xbox One. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, what is your favorite legendary in Hearthstone? Joe from California. Especially Joe from California. It's kind of tough. I basically picked it down to 4. I almost have like a full 30 legendaries. That'd be awesome. But my first favorite was King Crush, because when I first started playing Hearthstone, I played a Hunter because it sounded the coolest, and I liked the idea of all the peace and the synergy and stuff. And so I won King Crush. He's a legendary. I think he's an 8/8 with charge, and it's so freaking great. And yeah, so I remember I disenchanted like literally every other like card from all the other heroes in the game because I didn't want to use any of them. I'm like, I'm only playing Hunter anyway, so let's get rid of all these crap cards so I can make myself King Crush. I made King Crush. Some of my other legendaries, or favorite legendaries, are Grommash Hellscream. He's crucial in my warrior deck. He's awesome. Karen Bloodhoof, he's a very good card, and he's got great lore behind him. And Ragnaros, because Ragnaros has great lore behind him as well, and a lot of history within the WoW lore, I suppose, as well as he's just a really, really fun card that's really annoying to try and get rid of. So I guess King Crush, Grommash Hellscream, Karen Bloodhoof, and Ragnaros probably my favorites. Next question, he rates. Dear Nero, I've always had a problem with video games and school. I wasn't too bad in elementary school, but now that I'm in 8th grade, I'm barely passing, if at all. My biggest problem is that I get distracted at home by video games, and I want to know if you have any tips for balancing school and video games. Love your videos. Julio from Florida. Well, sir, what if I told you I was in the same boat as you? I was definitely in the same boat. So, elementary school. I can remember during elementary school, there was just people that, like, they had issues with learning certain things in elementary school, and then they had to really kind of try. If they really wanted to understand the material, even at elementary school, they had to really study the kind of stuff. They really had to go the extra mile to be able to learn and understand that. I didn't have that problem whatsoever, and I don't think you did either, because you said it wasn't too bad in elementary school. I basically learned everything. The moment the teacher said something, I could remember it, and everything just kind of made sense for me. Once you start getting into middle school, I think you said you're in 8th grade. Yeah, so 8th grade, that's 1 year before high school. Once you start getting in middle school like that, you start to get source material that is a lot harder than like what you had before, and this is stuff you actually need to relearn. And for the first time in your life, right, this is what happened to me, for the first time in your life, you don't understand something very, very clearly, and it doesn't motivate you, right? You're so just demotivated to even try something because you're like, why don't I get this? I must be stupid or something like that, because it's the first time it's happened. A lot of other people, they had those experiences back in elementary school, and they got through that, and they developed this work ethic, and they know how to study and stuff like that. We didn't need to do that. We didn't need to do that in elementary school because we just kind of got it right away. But then once we started learning stuff in like middle school, like late middle school, especially then early high school, you start learning this stuff like algebra, and you start learning stuff like different kinds of science stuff where you have to memorize things and stuff that may not just come naturally to you. That's when it gets really, really hard, and you're just like, why don't I understand this? I've always understood everything all the time. And for the first, it's a real system shock that you really have to start learning this kind of stuff and understanding it. So to answer your question, it really comes down to being a responsible person and being disciplined. There's no tips I can give you for balancing school and video games. All I can really say is, if you ever have free time in your school, let's say you have like a free period, or what do we call that? Well, homeroom was like at the beginning. No, actually, it was weird. Homeroom in my old school was like towards like the first period of the day, and then we had another one. It's like a period at the very end of the school day where basically you just start like doing on the homework and stuff like that. So that's what I would do. I did my homework there. And if you ever have like a free period in school or anything like that, or perhaps like the teacher lets you go 10 minutes early or something like that, and just says start working on homework, or you basically done with class a little bit early, you can start working on your homework there. But the only thing I can really say to you is you need to go home and do your homework stuff before you start playing video games. That's really the biggest, I guess, quote unquote tip that I can give you on this, is you really need to go ahead and do that. Because if you don't, you're going to go home and be like, okay, I'll do this research paper later. I have a whole week to do it. I got some friends that are still in high school, and they're not doing so good on the research paper because they're kind of waiting to the last second to do it. They wait to the last second to do anything, and that's the worst of it, right? So you start working on your research paper really quickly if you have something like that. If you just have homework for the night, you have to read some chapters or something like that. Go home, maybe relax for a second. Go home, get something to eat, maybe pop on a TV show or something like that. But don't do it too long, and then start doing your homework and stuff like that before you start playing video games and stuff. Because that way you actually end up enjoying your video games a bit more. Because I don't know about you, because I did the same thing in high school. I couldn't really enjoy it as much, with this dark cloud of like homework and responsibility like looming over my head. I couldn't enjoy playing video games. I knew I shouldn't be playing them at that point. So same thing to you, Mr. Julio. Just do your stuff before you start playing video games. It really just comes down to being a responsible person and being disciplined. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, what is your favorite group to join while playing Skyrim? Personally, I like to join the Companions. The quest line is a good time, and you get some pretty good items for early game. Riley from Canada, the legend, the legend. If you're a longtime fan of Dear Nero, you remember Riley from Canada. The guy's a legend, pure legend. So, Mr. Riley, it's good to have you back here on the show. And Skyrim, man, I played a bunch of Skyrim, but this is how I played Skyrim, right? So when I played Skyrim, I basically beat the game. And I went through, I think I was a wood elf, and I basically, all I really wanted to do was different kinds of things with a bow. I liked bows and daggers. That's how I ended up playing it. So I beat the entire game, main story-wise anyway, being the Dragonborn, the Dovahkiin, and that was a really cool, man. Skyrim is great for that. In terms of like all the different like groups and factions that you can join, I never actually played around with a lot of that. I really didn't. The only one I actually did all the way through, front to back, was actually the Dark Brotherhood. That's actually after I went to PC. Like, I originally beat the game on the console, and then I got Skyrim on the PC because I loved it so much on the console. Then, of course, being able to play it in ultra settings with everything turned up, and of course, you can get mods and stuff on there, even though I didn't really mess around with mods too much. But just the fact that you could do that and just how beautiful the game was, I ended up starting to play the game again, but I didn't have the motivation to go through the entire story mode again. So I basically I made like a Nord who basically walked around, and I had like a big axe, you know, and I just kind of walked around and I did stuff, and then I only remember how I did it, but I ended up getting invited into the Dark Brotherhood, and then they drag you into that room, and I ended up joining like the Dark Brotherhood, and that was a really cool quest line. It's basically a whole quest line of like different kinds of assassins and stuff like that. They send you off to kill like marked people, and at that point I get rid of my big axe. I'm like, I'm gonna use my little daggers, because it sounds weird, but like the cut-throat animations of that game is really satisfying to do. Like, you think of like when you knife somebody in Call of Duty, that may sound cool, but in Skyrim, if you're stealth, like you're crouched around and you're seeking up that person you need to kill, like the marked target for the Dark Brotherhood, then you go behind them, then like this cutscene triggers where you basically just kind of cut the guy's throat. It's really, really cool feeling when that happens, because it's so like gory, but at the same time it's like I'm the assassin. It really kind of sucks you into the game, so it's really cool. I did the entire Dark Brotherhood quest line, and I thought it was freaking awesome. And other than that, though, I really haven't played around with a lot of the quest lines. The companions, like you say, are very, very good. I haven't actually went through and played with them really at all, or any of the other groups that you can join in Skyrim. Basically, when I would play Skyrim, I would just play it as an open world game that was just super fun. Like, after I beat it initially on the console, then I got it for the PC. Now that I have it on PC, I just walk around and really kind of do whatever, because there is a lot of like really cool dynamic events that happen in that game. Like, you'll just be walking along and you'll see like a prisoner being escorted, then you'll talk to the guy like, why is he being taken away or something like that, and then he'll be like, get out of the way or I'll have your head or something like that. I'm like, oh, this guy's a dick. And so I let them walk up the road a little bit, and I'm gonna sneak up and I kill him. Like, I made a video talking about the Elder Scrolls Online, how excited I was for that, and at the very beginning of that video there was no commentary. It was just like a little bit of a scene where basically I was just walking down the road, just being on my like a wood elf hunter almost. I'm covered in fur armor, and I have like a bow. And there's this guy, like a nobleman or something, walking down the road. He called me like a peasant, or he called me just something rude. I'm like, oh, okay then. And so like I went and like hid behind a rock, and then he walked by again, and I shot him, and I like one hit him, because of course I was stealth and I get all those bonuses for that. And I one hit him with a bow and arrow, and that was just really, really cool. And I basically just walk around and do things like that, or go hunting or stuff like that, and take my stuff back to Whiterun and sell it. I don't know, Skyrim's a fun game. I'm sitting here wanting to play Skyrim now after we're talking about it. But yeah, that's what I ended up doing for the most part in Skyrim. I did the whole Dark Brotherhood thing, but I haven't really played around with the other factions like the Companions or anything like that. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, why did you not enjoy playing Call of Duty Ghosts? I don't know why it got so much hate, as it was my first Call of Duty game, and there was not that many things wrong with it. Dan from London, England. So Dan, you are experiencing what a lot of people have experienced over their time in Call of Duty. Everybody's first Call of Duty is usually their favorite one. When it's their first experience within the game, and every other Call of Duty experience they have is compared back to that first game. If you start playing in Call of Duty Ghosts, then chances are you're going to look at Advanced Warfare and be like, well, how is this compared to Call of Duty Ghosts? You start off in Black Ops 2, you look at Ghosts and Advanced Warfare, how are they compared to my first experiences back during Black Ops 2? Because every single game is very distinct in how the kill streaks are set up, and how the maps are set up, and the spawns and the guns and the progression system. They're all very different in those respects, and so whatever game you start on is usually the one you end up liking the most. That's why you did not see a whole lot of problems with it. A lot of people did see problems with it, and the reason, and that's not just coming from my perspective, that's coming from the perspective of the community as a whole, because after, let's see, December, January, February, after about 3 or 4 months into Call of Duty Ghosts life cycle, more people went back to Black Ops 2. Like, Black Ops 2 had more people playing on it at any given time on any given platform than there was people playing on Call of Duty Ghosts. That is fact. I made videos on it and talked about it. I would show screenshots of like all the different player counts. More people were playing Black Ops 2 than Call of Duty Ghosts only 3 or 4 months in. And that is something that has not happened since World at War in 2008. Back then, a lot of people really liked Call of Duty 4, super revolutionary. Then World at War came out, and it was World War II, and all the rifles were semi-automatic, and people didn't like that as much. And so because of that, they ended up going back to Call of Duty 4. That was a thing that's what ended up happening. And they kind of traded off. Some weeks World at War had more people. Some weeks COD 4 had more and more people. But that was the first time that more people are playing the older game than they were the new game since that happened. So Call of Duty goes one of the biggest flops in Call of Duty history if you look at it from that perspective. The reason I did not like it is because I have a lot of reasons. Let's talk about the reasons why I personally did not like Call of Duty Ghosts a lot. It was the first Call of Duty game that I never actually made it to max rank. I made it to max rank in every other Call of Duty game except for Call of Duty Ghosts, and let's talk about why I did not enjoy Call of Duty Ghosts as much. First and foremost, the kill streaks. They were not very good. They weren't fun. They weren't rewarding. There was no real cool thing about the kill streaks. They just weren't that good. Some of them were good. The Helo pilot, of course, was good. The Trinity rockets were okay. The Valheim thing was okay. But aside from that, they really weren't that good. And getting them was honestly a big pain in the ass because of some other reasons, like the spawn system. The spawn system was very, very bad in Call of Duty Ghosts. It really, really was. I did not enjoy it. It was just bad. The spawn system was not bad. The spawn slipped a whole lot. That is why I called, like, in Modern Warfare 3, they had the payback spawn system, especially in free-for-all. You kill somebody, basically, if you ever killed somebody in Modern Warfare 3's free-for-all, basically just turn around, because that's where they're going to spawn. And they ended up bringing, I guess, pretty similar system, and the spawn system itself was not very good. If you just looked at the opposing flag and domination a little bit funny, like you just kind of stare at it for a second, suddenly the opposing team is spawning on your flags and stuff like that, because they want to avoid spawn trapping. It's so stupid. It's like, I can understand wanting to avoid spawn trapping, but not to that extent, because you're making the spawns just flip back and forth, and you're basically handing bad players these flags, because they're literally spawning on our objectives behind us and stuff like that. It's horrible. I hate the spawn system in the game. The color palette, I mean, you just look at Infinity Ward. I feel so Infinity Ward they're depressed over there. Like, they need some sunshine. Like, I wonder if their office has like no windows and they don't know what color looks like. Everything in their lives is like a gray and a brown, because the color palette was just gross. You look at how beautiful Black Ops 2 was and how beautiful that game was. It's just color everywhere. And that was on the 360 and the PlayStation 3. And then you look at Call of Duty Ghosts, even on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, there's a bunch of greens here and browns there. I hate it. Whenever a game developer, not even just Call of Duty, but any game developer wants to go for like a realistic look, they make the game dark and dreary and gross and brown and gray and green. Why do they do that? I don't get. I promise you, game developers, I promise you, the real world has colors. You want to go for realistic? The real world has colors in it. Add some to your game. I hated that. No UAV was in Call of Duty Ghosts. There was no UAV. They added in the damn SATCOM. So basically every single game, you just had no idea where anybody was at any given time. It was awful. It was awful. Constantly getting shot in the back. Everybody in that game had to use a silencer, because the fact that there's no UAV showing up on the minimap was a bigger deal because there was no UAV. So everybody was using a silencer all the time. There was no UAV. It was like a game of hide and go seek a lot of the time. Another one, they added the kill feed. They changed around the minimap, which the minimap is kind of a lot like the peripherals perk here in Advanced Warfare, but it was a lot more transparent and therefore hard to read. So that sucked. They changed around the minimap, made it a lot more transparent. Then you look at the kill feed, instead of keeping it in the bottom left where it should be, they put it up there in the top right where no one could ever see it, and you had no idea when people are getting killed, or if you got like a cool kill. Like, let's say you get a quad feed or something like that, you didn't know. It was awful. Just so many things about that game. I've said it time and time again. I hate Infinity Ward. You see some Call of Duty commentators, like, they get invited out by Infinity Ward to go to these events and stuff like that and do these signings and things like that. If I ever got invited by Infinity Ward to do anything, I would literally like piss on the paper and make a video out of it, because I despise Infinity Ward. I think they're one of the worst game developers, not just of Call of Duty, but of all games in general. The new Infinity Ward, ever since Ben Sampella and Jason West left during Modern Warfare 2, that studio has just gone to complete shit, in my opinion. I did not like Modern Warfare 3. I did not like Call of Duty Ghost, and chances are I'm not going to like Ghost 2, because we all know Ghost 2 is coming. That's the reason why I didn't like it. But like I said towards the beginning of the question, if Call of Duty Ghost was your first experience in Call of Duty and you have really nothing else to compare it to, then you're going to like it, right? And you're going to continue to like Call of Duty Ghost, and every single game you're going to play after that, Call of Duty wise, is going to be you're going to be comparing that to Call of Duty Ghost. Mr. Dan from London, England. To answer your question, you wanted to know why I didn't like Call of Duty Ghost, and I just have a laundry list of reasons. I mean, that game was just bad. Fortunately, Advanced Warfare is much, much better. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I recently purchased World at War, and I have noticed some people hacking and charging money for mods. I feel as though they should be banned so people like me can play the game how it was intended to be. How do you feel about the hackers that ruin the classic games that me and others enjoy playing? Aiden from Billings, Montana. Aiden, I gotta tell you. Oh no, I'm sorry. Alden. I'm sorry, that's Alden. That's Alden. That's Alden. I thought it was Aiden. I thought it was, but it wasn't. It's actually Alden. Mr. Alden from Billings, Montana. I want to tell you, man, World at War is a great game. It's a fantastic game. And when I go back there, it's always really annoying to see these hacker people there, but very rarely do you actually see that. It was a lot worse a few years back when a lot of people were still trying to play that game. And basically, people would only play those older Call of Duty games just for the mods and infections that they could get. They could have, like, there's a lot of people, man, they were like invincible, or they could fly, or they could do all this kind of crazy stuff, and it was awful, man. And people do kind of charge money for that. People do charge money for it. You feel as though that they should be banned for doing this? I feel as though that's true too, but Treyarch doesn't really police that game anymore. They don't police World at War. Infinity Ward doesn't police Call of Duty 4. I don't believe they police Modern Warfare 2 anymore. The original Black Ops might even be slipping, because I know there's a lot of mods coming into that, as well as Modern Warfare 3. The longer a Call of Duty game is out, the developer spends a lot less time and resources actually trying to manage it. And it's kind of like a free-for-all, like a no man's land. Anything can really happen there. I had a lot of friends on Call of Duty 4, and this is like recent. It's not back in 2007 or anything, but recently they play Call of Duty 4 and they get into this lobby that's weird, and they get a kill in it. And this, by the way, this is like joining like a normal match. Like, you just like search up a game with Team Deathmatch, you get thrown into this lobby, and you think it's a normal lobby. You go get a kill. It put them back down to like level 1. And and then it also changes like the XP you need to hit level 2, and makes it like billions upon billions upon billions. So like you're infinitely stuck at level 1 now, and the only classes you can use, because there's no create class level 1, the only classes they can use is like the default custom classes and stuff like that, which is really annoying. I had a friend, SB Blue Bob, who was, I believe, I probably got the numbers wrong. He was like 400 kills or so away from 100,000 kills in Call of Duty 4. He wanted to get on and get that. Used to have that accomplishment. Just be like, yeah, man, I love this game. I played for so many years. Now I'm at 100,000 kills. That's awesome. And he wanted to do that, and he got on, and he ended up getting into that lobby or whatever, and it put him back down to level 1. So now he can only use the default classes and stuff, and it's how demotivating that was. That sucks. It sucks. That's a thing. But the only like light at the end of the tunnel here is the fact that the people that mod these games, people that mod like Call of Duty 4, World of War, Modern Warfare 2 and stuff, they're really kind of moving on to other stuff, because they've been modding these games for so long, and the customer base for that really isn't there. Like, you used to be able to go to these websites like, oh, look at me, I'm gonna go get some mods and look how cool I am. It's always funny. I remember many times about Call of Duty 4 and World of War outscoring people that couldn't die. Like, literally, they're invincible, and I would have more kills than them. And I thought, you know what? That's freaking great. These guys, like, it's kind of like a little bit of accomplishment in itself, right, when that happens. But like I said, a lot less people are starting to do that. I haven't played World at War or Call of Duty 4 very recently, but the last times I have been playing them, I haven't noticed a ton of different kinds of hackers or anything. Back in the day, they used to spam text on your screen, which was super freaking annoying. That was the worst of it. Sometimes you get into lobbies where people are... Actually, I take that back. Text on the screen is pretty annoying, right? I think we can all agree text on the screen is really annoying. But the worst mod that you can get is that stupid mod where basically you move around really, really quickly. How is that fun for anybody? It's fucking annoying. So that's the worst of it. And also the worst of it is if you get in that lobby, you're then infected. So whenever you go into a lobby, and if you get hosted to that lobby, everybody has that infection. So now everybody's running around. So literally one person gets on, they can ruin the entire game, because there's only like a couple hundred people playing these games now, right? So if one person gets on with these stupid freaking mods, they will literally infect the entire player base within like an hour, and it's awful. And the only way to really get rid of it is to go all the way back to your dashboard. Apparently that ends up getting rid of the infection. But yeah, man, it sucks that they mod these older games. I wish they would continue to support them, but at least we have some hope in the future that they'll possibly do remakes of them. That would definitely be awesome. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I was wondering if you've ever networked to grow on YouTube, and should I network with a couple of people? Jeff from Tennessee, originally from the Ukraine. So I've never really did a whole lot of networking here on my YouTube channel. I'm trying to think of any networked videos, which networking is basically with two YouTubers or multiple YouTubers work together on a video. I'm trying to think of some of the ones I did. I did a dual commentary with Drifter in Modern Warfare 3. I did a live comm series, which had maybe 3 episodes with Mr. Boss for the Win back during the original Black Ops. And... I did Dear Nero with Wildcat once. I think that's about it. I don't do any real networking on my YouTube channel. I never have. It works for some people. Some people say like, oh, you got a network. If you're a small channel, you got a network with other small channels. That way you can share your fan base and collaborate together and stuff. I've never really just did that. I just kind of made my own videos and went about my business and ended up growing my YouTube channel pretty well. And I thought that ended up working out pretty well. Any kind of networking you see is like me playing with my friends, I suppose, over on Nero's Let's Plays, where like Toucan and I, we did Minecraft series. We also did Daisy series. I'm trying to think. I did one with my brother, and I can't remember the other people. We did like a Left 4 Dead series. That was fun. But basically, just me and like the friends I've been playing with for years. Like we'll just play together in a video. That's really it. I never actually networked with other YouTubers or anything like that. Like you see other people, like they network with each other. You look at of course with Van Austin and their entire group and what they can do. Of course you look at the Yogscast. Networking can work together. You all work together, make the videos together, and you all grow together. That can work out. But at the same time, you don't necessarily need to have something like that. You can still grow pretty well solo as well. Next and final question. He's gonna write. Dear Nero, I recently downloaded Battlefield 4, and I gotta say, it's super fun. I know you're a fan of the Battlefield series, and I have a question. What do you really want to see in the next Battlefield? Kind regards, Carl from Copenhagen, Denmark. All the way in Denmark. Alright, so you know I'm a Battlefield 4 fan. I like Battlefield 4. It was a whole lot of fun. I haven't played in quite a bit, just because I've played so much of it, and it's like, you know, it's not like Call of Duty where you get a brand new one like every year, right? Battlefield 4 has been out for quite a long time now. There hasn't been a new one. Battlefield Hardline, we got to play the beta for that a little bit. But, of course, the game itself is not actually out yet. I can't wait for that game to come out just because it'll be fun. I miss my Battlefield fix because, like I said in other videos, the Battlefield series and the Call of Duty series are two very distinct games, and they feel very, very different when you play them. That's what I love about them. Battlefield Hardline, what do I expect? What do I really want to see in the next Battlefield game? I honestly would like to see them drop the Hardline gimmick. As bad as it is, which is completely like I would rather see a Battlefield 5, right? I would rather see a Battlefield 5 because Battlefield Hardline, I made videos talking about it as well. I feel as though that game it's gimmicky. It's gimmicky. It's the exact same thing as Battlefield 4, like in the sense that it's going to feel like a Battlefield game, but at the same time, you have this cops and robbers feel to it, where basically you're always going to be within cities. You're always going to be involving like a bank or a big jewelry store or something like that. You've got police cars and police bikes to go around rather than jeeps and dirt bikes and things of that nature. Of course, you have police helicopters rather than like attack helicopters and stuff. It's Battlefield, but with a cops and robbers theme. I don't see it being that great, I suppose. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. But one of the things that really kind of draws me into the Battlefield game is how you kind of feel like you're in a war in a way when you play Battlefield, right? Like you got these helicopters going around, you got these tanks, and you got these jeeps, and you got all these crazy vehicles always moving around, and knowing that they're not just being controlled by some random AI, but the fact that a player is using that. When you spawn into a helicopter and the pilot is actually good, and how awesome that feels, you're like, this guy is good. This guy has flown a ton of helicopters in his day here on Battlefield, because you can tell when you're flying in Battlefield, and the pilot of your helicopter is actually really good. Then there's the other times where you spawn in the helicopter and you instantly just crash into a building because that guy's like, I'm gonna fly the helicopter, and he's never actually flown one before, right? There's a big difference between that and how there's like a big skill gap in Battlefield, especially when it comes to using the vehicles efficiently, how awesome that is. And then you're like, let's take all of that and make it cops and robbers, and it's like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how Battlefield Hardline goes on. I'm just not entirely positive it will have the same amount of replay value as Battlefield 4 did for me. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. But yeah, what I like to see now, I would like to see it become Battlefield 5 rather than Battlefield Hardline. But I guess we can't really, I can't really change that, I suppose. But either way, I hope you guys all enjoyed this week's episode of Dear Nero. I thought it was a pretty good one. We got some very good questions sent in this week, and I thank you guys all for every single week submitting your guys' questions. They're all definitely very nice to read through all of those. If you guys like to go ahead and submit your questions for next week's episode of Dear Nero, this is how you go about doing so. Go to my YouTube channel, go to the About tab. From there, you'll see a send message button, and from there, send me a message. Preferably, in the very first line of your message, put Dear Nero, and then have it followed by your question. That way, when I'm sorting through all the messages, I can easily tell which ones are specifically sent for Dear Nero. Now, keep in mind, you cannot send these messages if you're on a mobile device, just because YouTube apparently doesn't allow mobile people to send messages. Like, if you go to my YouTube channel, you go to the About section on your computer, then then you actually will see a send message button. But if you try doing that from your like a tablet or a phone, apparently it doesn't work. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't use mobile things for anything really, so I couldn't really tell you where it would be. But yeah, that's how you end up sending it if you're using a PC. And yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy this week's episode of Dear Nero. Up here in the episode 120s, somewhere in there. We're getting closer and closer to episode 130. It's crazy how long this series has been going on. It's been going on for almost 3 years now, which is pretty freaking crazy. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed this week's episode of Dear Nero. And if you did, please be sure to leave a rating. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.